Welcome to Westworld FM, a podcast about HBO's Westworld. My name is Alex.
And my name is Nick.
Today we will be discussing the entire first season of Westworld as well as some of your emails and tweets. We will be spoiling everything through episode 10 of the series, so please go pause. Please pause and go catch up if you're not currently on the show. Go pause. Yeah, go pause. You can find more episodes of our podcast at westworld.fm. We're also Westworld FM on Twitter, and you can send feedback to westworldfm@gmail.com to tell us what you think of our show and share your thoughts on HBO's Westworld so you can read them on our show. Send us corrections, observations, or anything regarding Westworld or our podcast. A few housekeeping things up front. If you want to keep track of what we are doing in the downtime after Westworld, please follow us on Westworld FM or go follow Midwest Film Nerds on Twitter. Please check out MidwestPodcastNetwork.com if you want to see what other shows we've got going. Horror Movie Yearbook is a great show about contextualizing horror films in the time period that they came from.
It's great.
It's a fantastic show. We've also got the Midwest Game Nerds podcast, which I would guess that there are some gamers out there that have been watching Westworld and listening to our show. So if you want to hear us talk about video games, you can check that show out as well. We've got a podcast called Gone to Texas, which is about Preacher, AMC's Preacher, and the comic book series Preacher. So please check that out. I think that will probably be coming back before Westworld is.
Yeah.
Principal shooting starts in January, so we'll probably see like a summer to fall release for Preacher Season 2, and we'll be back at that. And then, we do have Midwest Film Nerds, which is an older show. It's kind of in hiatus at the moment. But we have a back catalog of a lot of different shows where we've talked about a great variety of movies that you may or may not be interested in. So go check that out if you're missing us in the meantime. And we may or may not have more stuff coming out in the meantime. So that's why you should follow us in those places and find out what we're doing, the latest and greatest of what we're doing. So
we've got plans.
We do have plans. There's more in the works. So, but on to some feedback from our listeners here. We had a few things that I didn't get to last week because they're kind of long and also kind of encapsulated stuff about the finale, and we wanted to talk through that first. But we did get an email from Fred. Subject for Fred says training for Samurai World. And he says, I enjoyed the final episode, but the best thing to come out of it was that there was a fucking Samurai World. Sign me up. That is the most amazing thing since Taco Bell invented the gordita.
Alex World.
Yes. However, as much as I'd like to shift attention to this new park in Season 2, there's still some loose ends from our favorite land of Wild West debauchery. Number one, where is Abernathy? He was supposed to go on the train, but we don't see it happen. Then all the hosts from the Cooler go rogue. Did he get out and will be arriving to Delos headquarters? ? We don't know.
We don't know.
My assumption, we did talk about it in the last episode. From the language of the episode that we were presented with, it seems like Lee Sizemore goes down to cold storage to get Abernathy at the direction of Charlotte Hale.
Yeah, that seems to be our indicator of where Abernathy was supposed to be.
Yeah, and when he gets down there,
Sizemore, I don't think will do anything unless he has to.
Yeah.
So he's not going down there for any other reason.
No.
He's the only one with no agenda.
Yep.
He thinks he has an agenda, but he's too witless to even.
Yeah. He's a bit he's kind of a cheap fiddle for everybody else to play, including Ford and Charlotte.
Yeah.
So my guess is that Abernathy is somewhere loose in the park with the other hosts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that he has all of the other host data in him and just becomes some kind of schizophrenic mess.
Or he could be like Neo and just be able to be anyone and do anything.
Yeah.
Like whatever skills they have and whatever their attributes are.
And I could see him being kind of like the Oracle or the Seer of like,
yeah.
He's kind of got the Cerebro built into him of like, oh, this person over here knows these things.
Exactly. Or like they discover they need so-and-so to would know where this thing is or where this place is. And he could be like, hold on.
I want to watch Lewis Hertham do Clementine.
Which Clementine?
Either Clementine.
Both. Yeah, I want to see Lewis Hertham do anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything. If there's one thing Westworld definitely had a knack for, and it had a knack for many things, but casting was certainly one of their fortes, and casting these character actors
was great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that was number 1. Number 2, it's even more of a mystery who Ford was building in his parents' basement now. Was it a new version of himself, same consciousness and new looks? Will he be living out his days as a host?
In his parents' basement. That's funny. Yeah. Ford's just the ultimate basement dweller.
Oh, the only thing he's missing is a neck beard, but and a fedora to hold it on with. But
he could quickly manufacture one of each.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit last episode too, but we can elaborate a little more. I'm hoping that Ford is gone from the show, but except for maybe flashbacks, if he makes any future appearances.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way too? Because you said last week that you because I said that I hope he's dead, and you were like, I don't know if I feel that way yet. Because you liked him a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if I hope he's dead, but I do think that his ending was really good. Like the closing off of his arc was spectacular.
The meaning of it all, and
the drama of it is so
the drama, the production, and then on top of that, the
Ford would want to go out like a rock star.
Totally,
he would want a ridiculous, over the top, like Freddie Mercury, blasting over the speakers,
absolutely
style,
and not only that, but also his kind of you see it almost as his comeuppance or the price he has to pay for.
That's true.
Denying Arnold's work as well. So
yeah, it's kind of like his ultimate penance.
Yes, that's what I was looking for. So for them to effectively remove that by saying, "Oh, he was a host," like host Ford got killed, or there's a new host Ford, or something like that. I don't know how I would feel about that for season 2. However, if the end of season 2 rolls around and host Ford walks in and is like, I have transferred my consciousness to this host, I might be down for seeing more of that in season 3 or something like that. Like I could see myself coming around to it, but you got to wonder, Anthony Hopkins is getting up there in age anyway. I'm sure it's getting harder and harder for him to make commitments as long as shooting a season full of television, especially one like this where it took 2 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
yeah, I think it's obviously a bummer to see Ford go, but I'd rather be left wanting more and celebrating what we had than being like, oof, this makes no sense anymore. Or
he should have been gone 4 episodes ago.
Exactly. Yeah. And time can move pretty rapidly in Westworld, I think. And who knows, season 2 might not even take place like the next day. It might be like a year down the line. We might have a Planet of the Apes situation. We don't know.
Just the man in black in a tattered tuxedo.
Still wearing the tuxedo. The sleeves ripped off.
Both arms in slings. Neither heels
just
properly.
Headbutting his way through hosts. Yeah, I don't know. With Ford, I'm bummed to see him go, but I could not deny how great that conclusion was.
Yeah, totally. Number 3, what the hell happened to Logan? Last we saw, he was butt naked, tied to a horse, galloping through the outer regions of the park. Assuming that he doesn't take 30 years, where is he? Important to note that he seemed hell-bent on stopping William, which could have made it for an interesting story and awkward Thanksgivings. Once again, something we touched on a little bit last week.
Yeah.
I have come around, and I as Nick kind of explained his thoughts on it in terms of like, it just seemed as though William had lined it up to kind of discredit Logan as crazy, essentially, with everything that they were doing in the park and just how people recognize Logan as unstable and that kind of thing. Like, William seized that opportunity to then take control of Delos.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes sense, but I feel like there's a lot of dots that we could connect there.
Oh yeah, we might even, who knows, we could have more Jimmy Simpson and Ben Barnes.
Which, like, especially because as people were suggesting or thinking or saying, if they do find somebody to bring into season 2 as a Logan who is actually there in the board of directors meeting.
Yeah, that would be neat.
That would be cool, and it feels like it could maybe be organic and be a good way to continue having Jimmy Simpson and Ben Barnes around.
We still haven't cast our old Logan.
Yeah.
It's just Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, it's Hugh Jackman. He is every old
He
Logan.
can wear a beard.
Oh, yeah.
It could be good.
Yeah.
He's not quite as old as Ed Harris, though, is he?
No, I don't think so. That'd be a bit too much of an age difference. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I came up with anybody good that I would love to see as the older version of Logan.
I'm trying to think of like an aging actor who still has like a party boy reputation, and I can't think of one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Andrew Dice Clay.
I don't want to see that.
Peter Weller. He would be like older William.
Yeah, absolutely. William at 90 is Peter Weller.
So Peter Weller will be him in the fast forward season 2.
You've cracked it. That's what season 2 is that they're going to be showing things from the future, and it's Peter Weller is Willie.
God, would I love that. I love Peter Weller.
That's beautiful. I've never realized that Peter Weller is just older Ed Harris.
And the thing is, he's probably only like 5 years older.
Yeah,
he's just lived.
They might be the exact same age.
He's just lived harder, I think.
With his PhD in history.
Yeah, he's teaching like Italian Renaissance at like Syracuse or something.
Yeah.
Serious. These are facts. We're not joking. Peter Weller is actually a university professor of history.
He is. That's why he's been on the History Channel back when it was still talking about history.
Oh, could you imagine walking into a class and like RoboCop is your teacher? He's only 3 years older than Ed Harris.
That's pretty good.
I'd feel very comfortable with him playing like an 80-year-old William, though.
I'd be totally down. Oh, man. Yeah,
you heard it here first.
Yes, yeah. If we hear Peter Weller gets cast in season 2 of Westworld, we all know where it's going now. So sorry for that spoiler, but yeah, I hope we maybe shed more light on Logan if Ed Harris does stick around for season 2, which he's told them that he's involved in season 2, but whether that means
if he
takes one in the head in episode 1 of season 2.
I'm cool with Ford being dead, but William can't be gone.
Yeah.
Like William, it would be the inverse in terms of satisfaction, because he's now gotten to where he wants to get to, and to not see him get to live everything he's been clamoring for.
See, but on the other hand, it doesn't necessarily feel like he deserves to have that, you know? Like he's taken, we talk about how he's like how he's kind of turned evil, and his wife thought he was dark and she killed herself, and his daughter hates him, of like to give him that reward of like, this is everything that you wanted out of this park.
Sounds great.
It doesn't necessarily follow with what they've written, but at the same time, I don't know, that smile on Ed Harris's face made it all worth it.
Yeah, could you imagine a whole season of that? Of him just like Chuck Norris in Expendables
Happy
2,
with all
just
the bullets
walking, holding an assault rifle with one arm. Yeah, well, and you're right. He doesn't deserve that necessarily, but not all the characters.
But the world doesn't necessarily work that way.
Right. And also, I still think there's potential for him to almost become like friend to the hosts, because he wanted them to achieve sentience.
Yeah.
Which, even if he wanted it so that he could do his own version of the most dangerous game, like if he could go into the real world and like hunt people, he would. Like, he would absolutely hunt people.
Yes.
I think he's like Kraven the Hunter. He just wants to hunt people. And now, and he seems like he was using some pretty twisted means, but he was trying to help them. He was closer to the mark than he realized, because suffering is what unlocks the maze, or is the maze, so to speak. And he was like right there, pushing all the right buttons, and just had to wait for the timer to go off. So it would be interesting to see if he almost becomes sort of not a sympathizer, but in a weird way, sort of an ally. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
plus he's stuck in there, and it's not that that's not bad for him. He says early on in the series that he's not going back.
He didn't want to go back.
He didn't want to go back. So his goal is to die in the park in some glorious way. But maybe that could be his death right there. Maybe he was just happy enough to see that this new era is coming and shit's getting real. His work here is done.
Yeah,
but I think he wants to have his cake and eat it for sure.
Yeah, And I feel like if they were going to kill him, there's no sense in waiting 2 years to kill him. Right. I think they would have killed him in the finale and just been like, "This is."
Or they'll just say in season 2, "Oh, he's dead. He died."
But it sounds like he would is attached to appear in some form.
That's good because he's great.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah. Absolutely.
More.
Number 4 from Fred's email here. Where was Wild Bill? Old Bill, he means. They couldn't give me that one small piece of satisfaction in any of the flashbacks. We agree, Fred.
Absolutely.
There should, yeah. That's who we need confirmed for season 2.
Some Wincott?
Yeah, we need Michael Wincott there.
Yeah, not enough.
I want fully restored Old Bill.
I mean, he's probably out there in the woods.
Yeah.
If
creaking along.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh my God, it'd be so cool. It'd be so cool. Like if it's seriously like Planet of the Apes and you could just hear him coming. He's just squeaking his way through the woods. That'd be great.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't really know who else was in those body bags in that part of cold storage. They might just be really old models like him, but he clearly still works.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and
I don't know if he's capable of sentience. Old Bill might just be too old, dude. He just can't even do it.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious if he's just still doing the same old shtick.
I would be, yeah. He just still has the same 4 responses to everything.
Exactly. And the shot glass permanently affixed in his hand.
He's like an old action figure with no posable appendages of any kind.
Just really tacky effects. Like I used to, speaking of RoboCop, I used to have this RoboCop figure where you could buy cap gun caps, and roll them up and put them in his back, like he had a jetpack sort of thing, and you could open it and put the caps in there and feed it out. And there was this big awful hammer
lever
on his back that you could pull back and it would snap, shoot the caps, and so it seemed like you should. I mean, if that isn't the most turn of the 80s toy technology, it doesn't even need batteries. You just need to find caps somewhere. That's Old Bill, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
They should make a Hot Toys of Old Bill.
That would be the first hot toy. You would pre-order that, son of a bitch.
It would be awesome. It'd have to be all crappy though, and just it's locked,
melting skin.
Yeah, it's just sitting in a sitting pose. Yeah, our Facebook cover photo on the Westworld FM Facebook page is Old Bill. Oh, that's really hilarious. Yeah. I didn't notice that until probably 2 weeks ago or something, and I laughed out loud.
Yeah, I made him that right after the pilot, or after we recorded the first episode, and
you didn't tell me. You just snuck it in there, and then I finally looked and saw.
Well, it was the same picture that I used for the pilot as well.
Oh, okay.
So I put a picture with every post, and I was like, we loved Old Bill, so it's got to be Old Bill.
Yeah, and Old Bill, I mean, aside from the fact that it's Michael Wincott, who's amazing. Well, I was just talking with friend of the show, Gojo, about the power of Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah.
Which is well documented on pretty much every other show we have. I probably talk about him at some point. But the power that that great character actors have is their ability to just always be good, because they know what they do and they're really good at it, and they just kind of have to do some shade of that and you'll be entertained.
Yeah.
And Ben Mendelsohn, even though he's been on a crazy streak lately of just being in films, and some of them suck or they're middling, but he's always good.
Yeah.
And I feel like I actually mentioned in the same conversation, I mentioned Michael Wincott, and I was like, he's kind of the same way, where even if he's in kind of a forgettable movie or whatever, he's always engaging and fun to watch. And I think that's part of the reason Old Bill is so successful, is he's well cast with a good character actor who immediately makes him interesting, but he's old, literally, and his effect is really cool and his history is really cool. And given Ford's disposition towards nostalgia and hanging on to old things and wanting to interact with them, that makes Old Bill even more interesting, because he has this effect on Ford. It immediately transports him back to the past and reminds him of a better time, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
To see more of not even just Old Bill, but other hosts from that era that might still be around is something I really want to see. I want to see more of the history of the park and the layers of the park that exist beyond the polish of the newest version.
Yeah, that would be good. Even if we see some of the we could see some of that with the other parks, of maybe there are other parks out there that have not developed, because as we were talking about, maybe the newest changes roll out after Westworld. Maybe there's some out there. Maybe
Yeah, and it would have been nice to see. Obviously, Ford's demise and the orchestration of it had to be kept very cloak and dagger, very secretive.
Yeah.
From us, the viewers, so we wouldn't see it coming. But I would like to have seen or be able to see more of Ford like saying his goodbyes to the park. You know what I mean? And being able to enjoy those things like one last time. And maybe that's what we're seeing throughout the season. Maybe that I need to go back and watch it again with that in mind, that each trip he makes and each time he's talking to one of those, maybe that's the reason he's talking to Old Bill down there, is he knows his days at the park are coming to a close. Yeah. Ideally for him. And that's why we see him doing that thing, like visiting with his family and wanting to play with the dog and that sort of thing, is because he knows he's at the end of his life and he's wanting to wind down and kind of give everything a farewell.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. That could be more prevalent with the rewatch. So, number 5, there is a missing Hemsworth brother in the park and nobody seems to notice or care.
People keep calling him on Reddit. People keep calling him like low rent Matt Damon and stuff, like making Matt Damon jokes. And I'm like, you're missing the obvious Hemsworth. Like, why? I get that he looks a little bit like Matt Damon, but he's a Hemsworth. Yeah. Like, just call him what he is.
Yeah, no, and there was a lot of that on Westworld. Everybody was calling Tallulah Riley Elon Musk's ex-wife.
Right.
Like nobody referred to her as Tallulah Riley or Angela. I don't blame anybody for Angela because we never hear her name. But
I definitely called her Elon Musk's ex-wife more than once on the show, but it's because I had a really hard time remembering her name.
Yeah, and I get it.
Tallulah.
But after 10 episodes of the show, I started calling her Angela. Shit. It's just one of those things.
You haven't seen Cool Runnings.
I have not.
Tallulah. Anyone listening who has seen Cool Runnings, please write in and tell Alex how we should do the Cool Runnings podcast.
But
cool listenings.
Somebody, Joanna Robinson, was tweeting about it and saying
cool musings.
How people are calling him the lesser Hemsworth.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like
poor man's Hemsworth.
Poor man Hemsworth. But I still, I don't know. She and I have the same. We're of the same mind. Where I've seen him in one thing. I've seen him in Westworld, and I kind of prefer him over Liam.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, and that's the thing, is he's really good. And could Chris or Liam have done it? I mean, yeah, but they didn't, and he's really good for it. Yeah. And part of his strength in that role is that you don't know him from something else. You don't know him from Hunger Games or any Marvel films, so that helps even more, that it helps him establish him as that character.
Yeah. So in the discussion of where is he, I guess we can bring up we've spoken a few times about the alternate reality game going on, which is at discoverwestworld.com and delosincorporated.com. And so there's these two websites out there where people can kind of suss out code words and use different access codes to uncover like a bunch of hex code to then convert into a link. And that apparently happened with these two links after the finale of the show. There's one link that shows a little brief tablet display kind of Elsie's location in Sector 20, implying that she's potentially still alive. And then there's a little audio clip of like somebody trying to broadcast, and then you hear a woman who sounds like Elsie say hello. So guesses point to Elsie being alive, and my guess is that Luke Hemsworth is still alive, that Ashley Stubbs is still alive as well, and they're hopefully together somewhere. People have been kind of discussing the motivations of that, of like, did Ford recognize that these are still good people in the park that don't deserve to die, and he's kind of squirreled them away?
Yeah, and they're not there. If they interfere, it's because they're doing their jobs, not because they're meddling. Elsie, to a lesser extent, she's kind of meddling a little bit.
Yeah, she was, but she was smart. Like some people were like, was she she was smart enough to suss it out or be the one still asking questions, and so maybe Ford respected that about her and that kind of thing. But I don't know. It's kind of a big question mark. So that's probably the thing that I'm least satisfied with out of season 1, is those loose threads. Like I wish we got some indication of where they're at or what they're doing. But in terms of seasons, I think this wrapped up most stuff very well.
Yeah, I felt pretty satisfied by it. I felt like most of my questions were answered and not too many threads were left hanging.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting about maybe thinking Ford spared them, so to speak. I can't think of a single human character in the show that Ford has a really strong relationship with. I think they're pretty much all hosts.
Yeah. But some people were also suggesting that maybe they got squirreled away to then help the security room people out.
Yeah.
Also help the hosts.
And also to either help the hosts or help the humans. Like, I don't know that Ford necessarily wants to ensure that the hosts will win. Otherwise, he would have just gassed
killed all the
everybody
people
in the building. Yeah, exactly.
He would have loaded them all up on a train. And
and blown it up or drove it into the ocean. I think that he kind of wanted to get things moving in the direction that they should be and then let evolution take its course. Find out if man... I mean, he kind of already believes that man has steamrolled over everything else that's on Earth, which is something else interesting that we didn't really talk too much on the show about, or on this show about. But he has a bit where he's talking about how man is alone on this planet because they've killed anything else, they've eradicated anything else that seemed like it would potentially threaten them. And that brings to mind, I understand what he's saying, and then he asks, what happened to the Neanderthals? We ate them. Is he speaking in just general terms of man eliminated all other intelligent races like that, sentient races, so to speak? Or does he mean that there are no other biological life forms on Earth anymore?
To me, I took that as like any threats of like...
Well, a lot of people have pointed out that people several times throughout the series, guests have
stared in wonder at like horses and things like that.
And they've had weird interactions with animals and things like that. So, and it just kind of, it does legitimize the question a little bit of like, are animals very rare?
See, but at the same time, you and I aren't around horses all the time. So like if we went to a place that had these horses that seemed real, but we knew they were fake, wouldn't we still kind of be like, hey, that's insane? I feel like it could go either way.
Yeah.
I feel like it could totally go either way. So part of me, I don't want Earth to be like decimated, or like I don't want it. The people who think that it's some kind of wasteland outside of Westworld or something like that, I don't know.
It's definitely not a wasteland, but I think that because obviously William is from some board, of some large company. He's a titan of industry. He's a philanthropist. Like there's a civilized world out there, and it's doing just fine.
Yeah. But
I think it is interesting that maybe just animals in general are more rare than they used to be, or maybe they're all endangered because man has either hunted them nearly to extinction or population is out of control.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's already a problem in 2016.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get worse whenever this show takes place. That reminds me, I also read a really interesting bit on Reddit where somebody suggested that Ford is a millennial.
Yep.
Did you read that? Oh,
yeah, because the show technically takes place in 2050 something. Okay. I think that tablet transmission thing that I was talking about gave some indication of dates.
Right.
So if Ford is actually in his 70s, then that means that he would have been born in like 1980-ish. Mm-hmm. And would potentially be a millennial.
I just thought the title of it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like the post just said Ford is a millennial, and it just made me laugh because I expected like some bitching about millennials in there.
Yeah.
But then they talked about it would make sense why a lot of the songs on the Play Your Piano are like Radiohead and Black Hole Sun and stuff like that, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, what a great theory, and I loved that somebody managed to tie it into something to give it some tangibility,
some logical heft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to kind of help root it in somewhere we can understand, because we haven't. I mean, you got to go digging for information like that. If the show takes place in 2054, you don't just see that when you're watching a show unless you're really keeping an eagle eye out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was a really interesting observation.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'll try and figure out where that like what the time was before we finish this episode off. But
it reminds me of in the comic The Private Eye by Brian K. Vaughan, which is amazing. Anybody listening who reads comics, buy that immediately. You can pay whatever you want for it online. One of the main character, his grandpa is a character, and the book takes place probably around the same time, actually, like mid I want to say like mid 21st century, probably like 2050s or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, his grandpa is essentially a millennial, and he like is playing Xbox throughout the book and like listens to rap all the time, and he's got a lot of tattoos and stuff, and it's just really funny because I'm 31, and that's not how I picture my grandparents, because that's not what they.
It's like, what shape are we going to take? In
exactly, and people have been saying that for years now. Like, oh, when we are our grandparents' age and that, we're still going to be listening to the same stuff. Like
grandparents with tattoos, and that kind of thing.
Listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers and wanting to play PlayStation, that sort of thing. Ford is not doing those things.
No,
he's busy.
Yeah, he's got other stuff to do.
He still dresses like he's from 1940.
And then he says, this is number 6 from Fred, and his final question. In the follow-up for above, what is the deal with Ghost Nation? Was that just a wasted storyline? They seem to be building up to something significant, but they were oddly absent in this episode. I think they were like slightly linked to the new narrative, as that was kind of the path that like they're along that train.
Yeah.
Like, obviously they were important in the past because William and Dolores interacted with them and were chased by them and that kind of thing. I think they're just kind of the natives that are in...
Yeah, they're just generic Native American threat that all Westerns seem to have.
Yeah, so I don't think they were necessarily wasted. I just think they played a certain part. It seemed like maybe they were also involved in Maeve's original build as well, because they attacked the farm as well, so...
Ghost Nation. I keep thinking it's like the subtitle of a Mission Impossible movie.
Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation. So there you go.
Which one is Ghost Protocol?
Ghost Protocol was 4. Was the first one with Jeremy Renner and Paula Patton.
Really? I just call it MI4. That's my favorite one, and I don't even know the
subtitle. That was Ghost Protocol.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Rogue Nation was 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. So Ghost Nation.
There you go. There you go. So
Rogue Protocol is coming in season 2 of Westworld.
Tie that in somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I think they could end up being like Ford's eyes and ears, sort of. Like, if he did use them to kind of subdue Stubbs and like take him somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I think if they wanted to kill him, they could have killed him. Like, they could have just that one could have just thrown a spear and killed him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
And some people were theorizing that maybe Elsie had gotten a hold of them and retasked them to save Stubbs.
I think they've got like an Ewok situation maybe where they're gonna time to a branch and carry him into their village and figure out what's going on.
Yep.
Oh my God, it'll be just like Star Wars. Bernard is 3PO.
Beautiful.
Teddy would be R2-D2.
The rest of Fred's email says, observation, did anyone else notice that Westworld guns never run out of ammo? That is a technology marvel far exceeding the hosts.
I told you, man, they're 3D printing the bullets.
Yeah.
On the fly.
On the fly. Yeah, we talked about that last episode too. So, I don't know. I could see that being one of those things where it's just like your gun has infinite ammo, especially if these bullets aren't necessarily supposed to do much to humans. Like,
if they're not even like real.
Yeah.
It's how the ammunition works is very strange.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're pointing a gun at a host and pull the trigger, and it's almost like a squib. Like, it just blows up on them, and they have taken damage.
Which I think is how they actually filmed it, really. And that's kind of how some people supposed maybe it would work in terms of like...
It's like a laser tag.
Like maybe the bullets are like rubber and they don't fire as quickly as other guns would at the time, and so it just bounces off of humans, but it's enough to penetrate through a host. Like, who knows, So it's
I guess Maeve does find a bullet in her, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So there are bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. Not important.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm willing to just kind of...
Yeah, the show is good enough where it doesn't... The nitpicking... It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Those finer details.
And Fred closes it off saying, it's been great listening to you guys. Looking forward to more in season 2. Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Fred. Keep in touch.
Yes. We got another thing here from Katrine. Katrine says... Hi guys, about to watch the season finale. Haven't had time for anything due to work and travel. As the intro melody plays in the background, I'd like to say thank you so much for a really nice podcast. Amongst my friends, I'm the only sci-fi nerd, So it isn't often that I get to share my love of sci-fi concepts with others. Our mode of communication has been really fun, essentially speaking with 1 week time difference through one-sided written and spoken words. Westworld has been a nice story. I enjoyed it. I haven't seen the last episode yet. However, I must say that it captured me more in the beginning than towards the end. I did appreciate the individual performances more than the clever storylines, and I believe the internet read a little too much into it towards the end than they needed to. Anyway, thanks for your podcast. You guys have nice conversations. And she said, I see Dolores being assembled. Ooh. So she was just starting it, and then I said, I had finished it, and I told her, I think it might hook you again. I hope it does. Let us know. We're going to record in 40 minutes. So that was last week.
Okay.
She said, I finished it 30 minutes ago. Seeing the Man in Black beaten up and dragged through the church in the same manner he dragged Dolores to the barn to be assaulted was so satisfying. Tandy Newton was the one character for me to be consistently interested to watch. Her performance was stellar. All the awards to her. This show made it very easy to hate humans and cheer for their eventual slaughter in the final scenes. I could not wait for Charlotte to finally have her permanent smile wiped off her face. Or did she? Season 2. Other than that, I am sure you will cover the highlights, Armistice, and Hector's fantastic final showdown. Teddy and Dolores at the beach. Felix dancing the robot after he realized that Bernard is the host, or so he might also be one. I hope Dolores and Maeve find peace in season 2. Finally, a thought. So apparently almost all fan theories came true. Was this on purpose, or was Westworld simply not as deep as we wanted it to be? Or is excessive fan theorizing destructive towards watching a story unfold? How did you feel about almost all the theories turning out to be true?
Here we go.
Good questions.
Great question.
I think it's not that the show was not as deep as it wanted to be. I think when you throw a hive mind of thousands of nerds at a problem, they will figure it out. Especially, it's not like we're curing cancer here. We're trying to figure out story beats. Especially in a show that did so much to put the work into making these theories track from the beginning of the show, like laying that groundwork there, I think is really satisfying. And so having a group of people that are paying enough attention to pull it apart, I don't think the show is worse for that. I just think people are smart and it's impressive.
Yeah, and you always have the option of tuning out to a lot of that stuff too, which is good. I think I agree. It's not that the show's not as deep, but maybe just not quite as veiled. Because, like I said, I think in the previous episode and maybe even episode 9, it's all there. It's all right there for the most part. And the clues are there. It's just a matter of putting them in the right order and then figuring out the solution. And it's wonderful because it works not only as a show, but as like a Rubik's Cube, like a puzzle box. And so a lot of people saw just a show and they said, I want to watch this show. I like the drama. I like the characters. I like the concept. And a lot of people
said this looks like nothing to me.
A lot of people, yeah, exactly. And a lot of people saw more than a show, and they saw a puzzle that they wanted to try to solve. And I think that's really great.
Yeah.
I'm all for that culture of trying to figure things out.
As long as it works on both levels.
Yeah,
and
of course.
It does.
Yeah.
I think definitely. The show largely did. We talked last episode about how the execution of all of these different theories that we had was so fantastic that it's hard to be mad about. No, like the fact that the show is interesting without having these twists be completely out of left field or complete surprises.
Yeah, they're not shock value twists. They're reveals. I wouldn't even say they're twists.
Yeah,
like it's not a twist that the Man in Black is William. It's just a reveal. I don't feel like I was like, whoa, who done it?
But so I don't. I don't think that it's. I think the show's very deep. I think the show goes deeper beyond these reveals as well, in terms of the idea of what does it mean to be conscious. Like all of the questions that the show asks, I think we had this conversation 5 or 6 episodes ago of like, has the honeymoon worn off? And I still feel like I am fascinated by the concepts of what happens when the human race has created something greater than itself, and like all those questions that we're kind of interfacing with, and we're just now going to start exploring and answering in more earnest, is very interesting to me.
That is what I want to see more of in season 2.
Yeah,
I keep making the joke about Planet of the Apes. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see just war between hosts and humans.
Yeah.
I want to see factions of them getting along and helping each other, and I want to see some hunting each other. I want to see a nice mix of everything, because I think that's what would happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, back
yeah, and I think there's a lot of room for, as we kind of said, of like, there will be humans that recognize that these are the people who created us, and therefore we should treat them with respect. And then there are others that will realize that they are. It's X-Men. It's classic X-Men of like the mutants,
the Brotherhood of Evil.
Yeah, it's Magneto and Xavier. I'm excited to figure out who's who in Westworld. Like who's the Magneto.
no doubt.
Like that'll be interesting to look at. But no, I think that's a great question, Katrine.
Yeah.
And she said, again, thanks for a nice podcast. Take care over there across the pond. Maybe till 2018 when season 2 comes out.
No.
Yeah.
We have so much more.
Yes. She sent this picture and just said fantastic. It's the picture of Ford,
oh my God, yes,
standing by the
romance cover.
The romance cover, Teddy and Dolores that we spoke about.
That's a beautiful picture.
Absolutely. So
send me that.
I will.
Print it and sign it and send it. XOXO.
Okay. James
Marsden.
I'll work on my James Marsden forging. But thank you, Katrine. Thank you to everybody who listened and sent us feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Katrine, for joining us on this show.
Yeah,
and communicating with us so regularly. It was really great.
Yeah, and same goes to everybody. You know, Fred. We had emails from Alan. Yeah. We've got people. Tom joined us from other shows. We had Yoop listening. We've got everybody listening, so it's been fantastic.
All aboard,
with you guys. Yeah.
Get on the train. We're going to the next podcast.
Yep.
And we'll stop back off at this one pretty soon.
So just some little quick news to talk about. The Golden Globe nominations came out today. Tandy Newton was nominated for Best Supporting Actress in a Drama. Evan Rachel Wood got Best Leading Actress in a Drama, or was nominated for, and then Westworld itself was nominated for Best Drama Series, and that's seemingly it.
Woof.
There might have been a soundtrack. I'm not sure. I'd have to take a look, but that's no Anthony Hopkins.
Where is the Hopkins?
No Jeffrey Wright. That seems crazy to me. A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And are there original script and story awards, I assume?
Yeah, let me take a look and see if I maybe missed those or not. The other thing that people were talking about is could we really call Tandy Newton a supporting character? In that sense, everybody's a supporting character on the show.
How that's classified for awards is always tricky.
Yeah.
And I think I know that directors and studios lobby to be nominated. Right, so I wonder if Tandy's people said shoot for supporting because Evan's going to go for lead.
Yeah, and just to divide and conquer, essentially.
And maybe then the Academy or whomever, whatever governing body is working on this, fires back and says, "Oh, you're not eligible for supporting. You're actually leading." So
yeah,
and maybe they were like, "Okay, yeah, she's supporting," and otherwise they would have to go head to head, which would be fine. That's happened before.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So
I'm surprised that there's not one for Hopkins. We're very used to great performances from Anthony Hopkins. It's not strange, but this feels like a career benchmark to me.
Absolutely. I think so too.
Especially considering he's kind of in his twilight years, whether we like it or not. And who knows, he might live another 20 years. I could totally be wrong.
Yeah. I don't know that there's any writing awards for the Golden Globes.
I want to make... They always have those for your consideration ads and posters. I want to make a fake one for Michael Wincott. Leading actor.
Yeah. Guest star on a drama series.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
No, I don't think they have those awards for the Golden Globes, so we'll have to see when the Emmys roll around.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
In the summerish time of next year.
I'm actually surprised there's not one for... I guess I can see Ed Harris not being up for one, but you got to go by that rule of most acting.
Yeah.
It's not best picture.
It's not best.
It's most. It's most picture.
Yeah.
I love that. Whenever I read that, I was like, that's it. That's the guideline 9 out of 10 times, I would say.
Yeah.
So most actor, Anthony was not the most actor, probably.
Yeah. And we should say Evan Rachel Wood won the Critics' Choice Award last night.
She definitely was most acting. Both her and Tandy were most acting from the females.
It's hard. Like, anybody who was portraying a host did fantastic in the show, but also had so much more to do than the humans. But
yeah, Jeffrey Wright, in a way I kind of understand, because his performance it's not enough fireworks for them to be like, oh, you get an award. Like, he's very subdued. He's excellent. But I still kind of stand by that. I didn't feel much of a difference. I was just watching episode 9 the other day, and I didn't feel much of a difference between Arnold and Bernard. Yeah, it's very slight. It's a little bit more like nurturing in his voice, but only really for one scene when he's like, "You came back," and he's like happy to see her, and then in his scene where he marches her to shoot him, he just feels like Bernard. You know what I mean? And obviously that's by design. I mean, Bernard's supposed to be Arnold, so I can't really complain about it, but I just felt like...
Yeah. It feels like there should be a little bit more of a denoting characteristic or something like that, but...
It's this paradox, because I understand that Bernard is supposed to be Arnold, and he's not Ford's idealized version of Arnold. I mean, he kind of is, in that he's not going out off on those tangents, but he tried to recreate him as faithfully as possible. Yeah. So... Yeah.
So, Westworld nominated for some awards. Hopefully, it will win them.
Yes, win the awards.
We could talk real quick. In terms of series, it's up against The Crown, which is a Netflix show about one of the British queens, I think.
Another one of those.
Game of Thrones, which has always been a pretty big juggernaut at the Golden Globes. Stranger Things is up there for best drama.
That's cool.
This Is Us, which is an NBC show, and then Westworld. So that's, I feel like it could win.
I would say it's definitely better than Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I agree.
Game of Thrones used to be really great, and I feel like it's fatigue to me. But I've never been over the moon about it. I think, but I think Westworld is infinitely more interesting.
I think so too. And even we both love Stranger Things. Oh, yeah. We talked about it on Film Nerds.
Definitely,
it's a fantastic show. But I feel like Westworld is hitting all of the right spots.
Stranger Things could win because it's a little more accessible. It's easy to watch, and it also is just this like surprise hit. I don't think anyone counted on it being as big as it.
That's true.
It is. And people like the underdogs. They like the Rocky story. Yep. Yeah. Well, whereas even Westworld, people were even joking about Westworld being like, saying a lot of it is predictable, typical HBO. Yeah. And I was kind of like, well, no. Yeah. That's every season of Game of Thrones you've been watching.
So then the other categories here, just to see exactly what...
I've heard really good things about The Crown.
Yeah, I've heard good things too. I have not checked any of it out yet.
We will not be doing a Crown podcast.
No, we won't.
Not that we're aware of.
Not yet. So Evan Rachel Wood is up against Catriona Balfe for Outlander, Claire Foy for
Jim Caviezel movie?
The Crown. No, not the Jim Caviezel movie. Mm-hmm. The Diana Gabaldon novel TV series. Kerry Russell for The Americans, and then Winona Ryder for Stranger Things. I've seen one of those, so I can't really talk about that much. And then... In terms
Winona was definitely most acting out of what I've seen in that category.
That's true.
There's a lot of acting.
But I don't know. I notably did not like that as much.
It was too much acting.
Yeah, a little too much acting. Best performance by an actress in a limited series or motion picture made for television. So I guess it's not supporting. Maybe they have this wrong. I don't know. We'll have to do more research. But Tandy Newton is up against Charlotte Rampling for London Spy, Sarah Paulson for The People vs. O.J. Simpson, Riley Keough for The Girlfriend Experience, and Felicity Huffman for American Crime. I haven't seen any of those other shows. I've seen a little bit of The People vs. O.J.
I do love Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Paulson did win for... she won the Emmy this year for that show. So...
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, so... Yeah, awesome. Westworld. Hope it gets some Emmys too, but we'll see in the future. And I did want to note there was a link here on the Westworld subreddit. HBO has registered both Explore Samurai World and Explore Shogunworld.com in preparation for season 2, potentially.
Didn't somebody buy Discover Samurai World and then had it redirect to Discover Westworld? I was reading that someone did that, like immediately. They bought it and then had it redirect to discoverwestworld.com, unless HBO did that.
No, Discover Samurai World redirects to Reddit. The Reddit Westworld subreddit.
Okay, so someone else bought it.
Yeah, so somebody else got it, but these are Explore.
I see.
So there's been DelosIncorporated.com, there's been Discover Westworld, and now either Explore Shogun World or Explore Samurai World.
Some guy at HBO is just like...
Yeah, like, God damn it.
Just offer him a little bit of money. It'll be fine.
Yeah, or a walk-on roll.
Yeah.
Smug at the camera and then walk away. So then... kind of 2 more things to get through here. Just general thoughts on the season, thing that we liked or disliked. We've touched on a lot of it here, but if you have any other favorite moments or anything that you want to talk about, just kind of in general. What have you been thinking about in the week after?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like because it kind of circles around to what we were talking about in regards to Katrine's question of, the depth of the show. And I think a good measure of any film or music or TV is what does it leave you feeling, but what does it leave you thinking after? You know, what do you really feel like you're ruminating on? And with this show, I keep coming back. I keep thinking about Ford's kind of orchestrating his own death, and again, like I talked pretty at length. In episode 10 about how I really enjoy watching characters and how they choose to face their end. Yeah. And I was thinking about that more because we've obviously lost a lot of great artists this year in general, and I was listening to Leonard Cohen's final album. And I had bought it, I pre-ordered it, and I bought it, and then he died like a couple days later, so they're like, within weeks. Yeah. And I had listened to the whole album like twice and really liked pretty much all of it. I loved a little bit of it. And there's nothing on it I dislike, rather. But then when he died, I was listening to it again, and there's a song on there called Leaving the Table. And kind of the main lyrics in the chorus are saying that he says, I'm leaving the table, I'm out of the game. Yeah. And this is kind of the song is essentially about somebody giving up their walking away from leaving the table, really. There's no simpler way to put it. And it can obviously be interpreted as stepping away from a career, but also stepping away from your life. Yeah. And he had said pretty, I don't want to say famously, but it was the thing that everybody was quoting right after the album, leading right up to the album's release. He said, I'm ready to die. And this was the headline everybody was running. And then he was like, whoa. I'm not saying I'm like I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's die. But he's saying that he has looked back upon his life with favor.
He's made peace with his life.
Exactly. And he's had a wonderful career, and he has looked back at the good and the bad and everything, and his music has never shied away from either the good or the bad. Yeah. And part of what makes listening to him so rewarding is that he frequently indulges in the dark memories and like the bad things. And I think that Ford also does a lot of that. Yeah. Part of the reason I think that I connected with Ford so much, like you pointed out, was that he's very heavy into nostalgia and his past and his history, and I'm very much the same way. And I would think that were I sort of in his position, I would spend a lot of time visiting these old memories and I don't want to say dwelling because that sounds negative. You can dwell on good stuff too. Yeah, I guess. And that's part of the reason I love Leonard Cohen so much, aside from his velvety smooth voice, is and his just horrible raspy voice at the end of his life, which I still think is amazing. But he's very much the same way. And so I was listening to this album, and it was making me think about him and what he must have been feeling when he was writing the song. And then it just, like, this switch flipped, and this gap was bridged, and it brought me right to Westworld. Like, as I was in the car listening to it, and I thought that Ford would be listening to this kind of song. Yeah. Ford the millennial would be listening to this and connect with it. And I thought that was really cool. And so this is what the show leaves me thinking about, is this sort of thing. Yeah. And, Bowie had a lot of stuff like that too. Yeah, he had a lot of songs. Part of the reason "Ashes to Ashes" is my favorite David Bowie song is because he's pretty much looking back on like the last 10 or so years and talking about it. I think that's awesome.
Well, yeah, not only that, but also kind of when you started talking about the people who passed away this year, the way that some of them handled it, particularly David Bowie and Alan Rickman, and that very British style of like, I'm not going to tell you guys that I'm sick because it's not your business.
Well, and I think it's also, it's not your business, and also like, at least the way I take it, there's a certain measure of I don't want to be remembered that way, and I don't want you guys to worry about it. So
yeah,
and I think Bowie was pretty, his people and his family and stuff were pretty like, they all knew. Obviously, he didn't keep it a secret.
Yeah,
they all knew, but they said he didn't want that to be what people were talking about.
Yeah,
they wanted them to be talking about his new album, and then he wanted to. And Bowie's the same. Oh my God, Bowie is on the Ford wishes he was as much of a showman as Bowie, and Bowie's totally up somewhere else looking down and be like, God, I hope my funeral's awesome. Like he totally wants that to be the case.
Yeah,
he obviously wants to be talked. Well, he does want it to be talked about, but just on his own schedule, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and and maybe some of it was just that I don't want to be answering questions in interviews about how the end of my life is going to go, and that kind of like just not wanting that to be the focus of their life.
Right.
But with the elegance that they faced that, it's very similar to the way that Ford faced his own demise as well.
And because Leonard Cohen said I'm ready to die, and there's a great series of little video junkets on I was seeing them on Facebook actually.
Yeah.
But he had a little sit down in front of some press, like in a small room, and he was sitting with his son, and they were asking him a lot of questions about like how he writes songs and that sort of thing. And inevitably, it kind of comes up about his health and that sort of thing. And he made, I can't quote any of it, but he made some really good wisecracks about it. Like he's very funny all the way up to the end, and he is very open about it, and he doesn't shy away from talking about it, but he's just kind of like, yeah, I'm old, like it happens. But he's wonderful. I think that's probably part of the reason I like Ford so much as well, is he has those little musings and those funny moments where he makes himself chuckle. He likes what he's set up around him, and he likes watching it unfold. And I think that's always been part of the allure of a guy like Bowie and Prince, even as well, as they like building up these crazy spectacles around them and then executing it and watching people marvel and react. And that's part of the reason why I kind of think Ford might still be around, because he's going to be like, I'm not going to miss this show.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he just knows he's going to trust that people are going to enjoy his last story.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of one of the big things. Westworld left me just thinking about legacy, I guess, to sum it up.
Yeah.
Like what is Ford's legacy? What is the park's legacy? And what are a lot of these characters' legacies? What are they leaving behind, and how is it going to be perceived? Because obviously you will leave your own string of experiences behind you, but you'll look at it differently than everyone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think Ford, it's sad in a way with Ford's death or apparent death, because he knows a lot of these intimate things about all these hosts too. He knows their secret histories, and it's like the same thing with Old Bill. He's not just like a little novelty sitting on the shelf. Like he knows, he's a reminder obviously of another time, but he also knows the story behind Old Bill. And it's kind of like, I know it's in another, it's talked about a lot in another film, and I'm really ashamed that I can't think of what it is right now. But all of the it's Blade Runner. When see how embarrassing that would have been. When at the end of Blade Runner, when Roy Batty's talking about all those moments, exactly. And there are so many infinite moments that only you know, and both the good and the bad. And Ford knows those about everybody in the park.
Yeah,
and he is the Oracle. And so having all that knowledge and all that reverence and respect for the hosts to be gone like that with the pull of a trigger is pretty mind-blowing, I think.
Yeah.
It's like as if a whole library were to go up in flames and everything were to be lost.
Yeah, and I think Ford maybe realizes that at some point.
And never mind, they're all in Abernathy. We're good.
Well, yeah, they might all be in Abernathy, but also at that, I think because of the reveries, because of that code, these hosts are supposed to be able to start accessing those things.
That's true.
And kind of,
it's just
they're going to need those people there to tell them like, this is what you're experiencing, and this is how we process it, and that kind of thing. But
the notion that there was a human who respected them on such a deep level enough to help to do everything in his power, even at the cost of his own life, to liberate them, even to like murder people.
Yeah,
I mean, which is not good, obviously, but it's a sacrifice in a way of Ford's own. Like he is bearing this weight of these terrible things in order to try to liberate these people.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that perspective will ever be acquired by Dolores, if she'll ever look back and with some gratitude in a way, or if
or if it's just pure hatred.
Because her decision is very hasty.
It's very vindictive.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting thought. I'm very excited to see how that plays out, because I remember I brought up not too long ago like the idea that Maeve and Dolores were maybe being set up to be on opposing sides. I don't necessarily feel that way anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to reduce it to like allegiances, but I really couldn't even tell you what they are. Anyway.
Yeah. So, but I'm still kind of,
other than like bored versus everyone.
Yeah, that's kind of the one clear one. Humans versus hosts is going to be a big. Yeah,
I wonder which ones will be. Where they will fall.
Yeah. Man, the Man in Black's just mowing down all the humans is like, you guys don't matter anymore. But
there's a new sheriff in town.
But I was just kind of left thinking about the show of like, this is one of the few TV series where I feel like I finished the season and I am just unabashedly excited about where it's going to go from here. Like, I would say it's even on another, like, I was never disappointed at the end of any Breaking Bad seasons. Like, I loved them all. I was excited to see more, but like, I feel like Westworld has so many possibilities on top of it of where they're going to go with Samurai World and how they're going to explore the humans versus the hosts and where allegiances are going to lie if it goes that far, or just kind of the exploration of these bigger concepts is so interesting to me. Whereas Breaking Bad is limited to, I'm excited to see what happens to Walter White.
Yeah.
There's a whole world of possibility out there for Westworld.
He's on Trump's cabinet.
Yeah, I saw that. It was fantastic.
That was good. Cranston's a guy I'd love to see show up in a show like Westworld.
That'd be pretty good.
He could
Bryan Cranston as Logan.
He could act his way out of an iron lung. Like he's just unstoppable.
Yeah. Totally.
Logan, oh my God. Whoa. That might be really good, actually. Tim Whatley had some shades of Logan on him.
And
carousing,
and Cranston can fill in that beard too, They just got to darken his hair a little bit because it's a little red, but
yeah, I think it would be fun for me to just kind of make a weird wish list of people I'd love to see show up in Westworld. And the show is designed in such a way that there are no like AAA stars in it, really. I mean, there are faces like James Marsden and Ed Harris and Evan Rachel Wood and Anthony Hopkins, but if that's there's no George Clooney's or Brad Pitt's or Tom Cruise's or anything like that. Not that Game of Thrones has many either.
Well, and see, part of me is like very curious as to like if like maybe we're going to get more glimpses of the real world as well. Like how much are there people outside being like, what the fuck happened?
What happened over at Westworld? Yeah.
Yeah. And how do we get control of the situation again? Like, I think
that is something that I was reading about and people's opinions. And they were saying that, did anyone get away on the train? And if so, what's going to happen there? I'm not particularly interested in watching a host try to get by in the real world. I don't know that I want to see much of the real world, but somebody did mention they're going to have to address exactly where the park is and what's going on, because they said if word that, the Isla Nublar of Westworld has been taken over by a sentient, they're just nuke it and be done with it. Yeah. And that's that.
Well,
they'll
and
just carpet bomb the island and then be like, okay, write it off, send it into the ocean.
I guess there's a chance that they will keep it very...
Unless it's really Planet of the Apes and the whole outside world is run by hosts and Ford and company didn't know that.
Yeah.
Not likely.
I could see season 2 being pretty enclosed in just that park. Because the way that they were treating how Tandy Newton was escaping, how Maeve was escaping the the complex and how it took time for like the alerts to be raised in Samurai World, and they needed to know how to contain there. It's like there were other control centers in these other parks that didn't get enclosed like the Westworld one did.
Yeah,
you know? So it's like how there's going to be some interface with at least the whole of Delos Destinations, if not also the real world, and having people be like, I feel like there's going to be a new team of people outside of Westworld
trying to get in
and trying to help the humans there, and trying to correct the issue.
Yeah. No, that does make sense. It would be kind of a Jurassic Park situation.
Yeah.
Like, let's go back and try to fix it. We could salvage this totally. There's too much money invested in it to let it go.
Oh, dude, is it what's his name? Is his name Arliss Howard?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please. Let's get some more Jurassic Park in there, but also Rubicon. Let's
we need to do. I would love to do our Rubicon podcast if it wasn't all in vain.
Yeah,
it just wouldn't.
Yeah, so somebody actually posted on our Rubicon yesterday.
Really,
and they were like, "This show really." I forget.
If you
what
like
they said.
Rubicon, send me your social security number.
Yeah, the Rubicon hit squad is out there.
Oh boy,
but yeah. I don't know. Are there any other general thoughts that you want to cover before we before I ship it off to the next segment?
No, I agree that I don't even want to say I'm optimistic for the future because I feel like I know it's going to be good. I feel like I can't take a position of optimism or pessimism. I'm ready for anything.
It's a truth already.
Yeah. I hope it's not like a hero situation where season 1 is great and the rest is just turds swirling around the bowl.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing, is that it feels like it could become such a different beast from here on out. That
we are going to have to be open to anything. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of futile to try to predict where it's going to go or where you want it to go because the odds are good that.
But I'm like, I'm kind of okay. Like none of me is thinking, oh, how are they going to play with time again? I'm like, I don't care if they do that again. I want them to tell a good story about what's going on.
Do whatever works to help it come to life.
But, Jonathan and Lisa, if you're listening and you want to use
Peter Weller.
Old Weller as...
Old Weller. I forgot we used to say that.
Peter Weller as Old William. Oldest William.
Yeah.
Please take it and we will enjoy it. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Just footnote us as give us story.
Yeah,
credit.
Give us a little asterisk in the
photo credit.
Yeah. No, just get us a signed copy of this romance
exact
cover.
Image by just James Marsden.
Yeah, he's the only one.
He would totally be like Johnny Cage with like the signed headshot.
I kind of want to track him down at like a fan convention and just get this shot. That I think we should do that.
I would wager real money that James Marsden is an awesome dude in real life.
Oh, I saw him. He was on Colbert, and he seemed like a really fun guy. He was talking about.
That's one where I would be heartbroken if he was a dickhead. Like if you met him and he sucked. Like even my greatest film hero, Harrison Ford, I would totally be braced for him to be an asshole to me. I'd be like, I get it.
Yep.
Couldn't accept it with James Marsden.
No. Couldn't
handle it.
You also wanted to talk a little bit about characters that we enjoyed or favorite moments and things like that. So yeah, what were you kind of thinking? When I was thinking about this earlier, I was thinking about some of the arcs and the use of an actor to play multiple roles, sort of in the way that El Lazo and Lawrence. Yeah, and it was fun because, excuse me, early in the season, I really liked Lawrence. I thought like Lawrence was a really great character. Yeah, and then it was really fun to watch him kind of turn into this sort of Robin Hood of the Old West figure in El Lazo, and I kind of wanted a little bit more of that. But I thought that the show's use of some actors to play almost multiple roles, even though yet kind of not really, and over 2 different timelines now. Anyway, I think that's great. And characters, I really liked the shot of him in the finale doing the card trick in the crowd. Did you notice that?
I did. Yep, just walking around. Yeah,
it's just a beautiful little touch of like.
Yeah, Lawrence. I do want to go back to the party scene and see who else might be around. Just kind of ambling around because we saw Rebus there. Yep, some of these old familiar faces.
Yep. Rebus got shot by a guest, and Teddy shot the glass off of his head or whatever that was.
Yeah, Teddy's a character that I think, in a way, had the most tumultuous graph, if you were going to like line graph his experience through the show, it would just be like, it would be insane. He started off almost feeling like our protagonist, which is really interesting.
Yep.
And then he became like punching bag / shooting range target for like a couple episodes, and then he really turned
Teddy
around.
Zoolander.
Yeah, exactly. And then he kind of became really integral to the story, and it was cool that once William found him, he was like, "Oh yeah, Teddy, what's up? I could use you. Teddy's more important. Sorry, Lawrence." And then Teddy kind of becoming, then dying again, and then kind of coming around again. And I think that Teddy's going to be a real emotional anchor for a lot of the writing and a lot of the audience in season 2, because he seemed pretty mortified at what he was watching.
Yes.
And whether or not he was horrified at the death of God, yeah, I could see that. Can't blame him. Dolores turning into a murderer was probably pretty horrifying for him, because he's very like Old West, blue-eyed country boy in his ideology of Dolores.
And it also it also harkens back to the Wyatt, like that experience as well.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. Teddy's definitely kind of programmed to be a sweet-natured guy.
Yeah.
And his vision of Dolores is the romance cover novel, and when she puts a gun in her hand at all, it's kind of like shocking. It was to William too.
Yeah,
that's kind of that's the pedestal that these dudes put her on. But I think, that could also have been just like, oh God, what's going to happen? Like Teddy, whether or not that doesn't seem like that has pushed Teddy into the maze, so to speak. Like that he has not achieved sentience, but I would love to see that happen.
I think he's kind of gotten there. He's at least started remembering things.
That is true,
as we did see there. So,
and Ford's, it doesn't necessarily need to be this watershed moment of suffering, but the sum total of all of your suffering. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But I think where Teddy went was really satisfying and really fun to watch. Just when I would start to write him off as like, he's just like a guy they put in the show. Yep. He had some purpose.
Again. We remarked that we hoped that he would become more.
Yes.
Pretty early, I think, in the first episode, because we could see that he was being just murdered continuously.
Yeah, exactly. Just a pincushion.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think where the Man in Black went was very satisfying, and that was the one that was being built up to be a giant letdown.
Yeah.
I think like we've said, it felt very natural, like a logical progression, and it was fun to watch unfold.
Yeah.
And obviously Ford to me was the best character of the show. And my favorite to watch, I thought every time he was on screen, it was pretty electric. And I knew something really great was happening.
Yeah.
I was a little let down at times by Maeve. I think Maeve was where my patience got spread a little bit thin. And you can have a show where bullets don't make sense, and for some reason I'm cool with that. But when you start to, because that's a function of that universe. But when basic human intelligence and reasoning,
character motivations go kind of out the window, it's hard.
Out the window, they blast off into space and fly into a black hole. Like it's gone. Yeah, that's where I started. The Felix, Sylvester, and Maeve stuff was really neat at first, and then I think it just probably went on for too long. It pushes a
little too far.
And this show did a great job at staying at 10 episodes. 10 is good. And I know that's kind of the HBO model, and that's great. And Marvel and Netflix need to take note. 13 episodes is too many episodes.
Yep.
I don't think I've watched a single season of a Marvel show where I didn't say that could have been trimmed down by 3 episodes. I can't even finish Luke Cage. And it's not because it's bad.
No.
It's really fun to watch, but I just don't care. I have no real stake in it. And it's taken. I'm done with 6 or 7 of them, and I'm just like, I don't know if I'll ever finish it.
Yeah,
I will one day, but I mean, I guarantee I'm going to be watching Daredevil season 3 and Defenders before I go back and finish Luke Cage, because it's just the draw's not there.
Yeah,
and it's because I know I'm not even halfway done.
Yeah,
it's exhausting.
Yeah,
so good on them for the fact that on HBO for that I only was a little bit exhausted from that particular subplot.
And I was going to say, I feel like in the end, I'm okay with it all.
Yeah.
Like where she's at and where it took her, and bucking her programming to go and find her child, quote unquote child. Like seeing where it led her, I'm okay with how it all happened. I think the means ended up justifying, or the ends ended up justifying the means.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it was still a point of unhappiness and a point of being kind of pulled out of it a little bit in terms of Felix. But I made a little bit of peace with that too. I think in last episode, I kind of realized that Felix has a little bit of that young William quality to him of being caught up in needing to help these people who are built to make you enamored by them, essentially.
Yeah.
More so with Maeve, even. I think it's more justified with Maeve than it is with Dolores. But
which is great. Again, great casting.
Yeah.
Tandy Newton is very enchanting. She always is. She's riveting in Rock and Rolla, and she plays not a similar character, but kind of. She's got some of the similar qualities.
So it's I think in the long run I'm okay with where it ended. I'm happy with where it ended up. But it was rough there at times.
Dolores is funny because she's often quite boring. I think that a lot of the times during the show, I would find myself being like, Dolores is kind of just dull as dishwater. Like she's obviously very beautiful, and she's got the way she's dressed and manicured and tailored is
she's supposed to be the farmer's girl.
Right, like the girl next door. And she's great for that, but I kept wondering she's how does old William put it, that she's market tested kind of, or something like that.
That was what he said to Hector.
Says that about Hector, yeah, and that's kind of how I felt about Dolores. It was like, young impressionable men were going to walk in here and just be enchanted by her.
Yep.
And I get that, and I see that, but I wonder. I'm kind of left wondering why Dolores is the one. You know what I mean? Why is she the chosen one? Is it because she was the first one to achieve sentience? Like, obviously, she and Arnold had a very close relationship, and there was something in her. So did her effect on William and company extend even to her creator? Was she so? Is there something about her that's just that X factor that she has that even?
I think you could say that. Like, it seemed like from any indication of all the hysterical people in the church, like she's the one that made it through the maze. Then she made all of the right turns in the maze to get towards the center rather than spiral out to the end.
So it is at the end of the day, it is the quality of who she is. It's the quality of her character that makes her so special to Arnold and the series.
And we saw Arnold personally piece her together and wake her up. Like she was the first.
Is she the first?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Like that's what Ashley says in the first episode. What Stubbs says in the first episode.
Yeah, I remember him saying she's
the oldest one in the park.
Yeah.
Is what he says. So it's
I wonder.
So I guess that's not concrete evidence, but to me it seemed like
I like to think she wasn't the first. She just is number 50 or something. She came along, but she's the one that for some reason, against all odds.
And maybe that's it. But I think it would be very personal for Arnold. And as I think he very much, in his discussions with Dolores, I think he very much saw his own son. Like Ford talks about how Arnold was seeking to create something that he was lacking in his life.
Something he could
something he lost and
nurture.
Yeah. So
Dolores' development, was definitely something he wanted to further. Like even like a great teacher would a student, that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't mean to suggest because she's like a beautiful young woman that there's anything creepy or sexual about her relationship with Arnold. I think it was like a loving relationship. Yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm dissatisfied with Dolores at all or Evan Rachel Wood's performance. Like everything about her is very good and well done. It's just sometimes I kind of was like, I understand Dolores is at times she's kind of the like blank slate, kind of the cipher.
A little bit, yeah.
So she doesn't have as strong a personality as the others around her. She's kind of the straight man sometimes.
Yeah, like with the first indications of personality, or not the first, but the most indication of personality we get out of her is towards the end of the series or of the season,
and it goes dark.
It goes super dark.
Yeah,
but the I think if you were to go back and watch everything through the lens of the fact that Dolores is a host, and because we are so, from the first episode, we are programmed to empathize with these hosts and see them as people, essentially. But I think if you were to realize how much she feels as though she is a human, like if you were to walk in as a guest, knowing that all of these people are robots, her interactions with the world and the way that she talks with William, those moments where he's glimpsing supposed consciousness out of her, I think build into that sense of wonder about her. Because I don't think anybody else is on that level. Like, nobody else is talking like that in that park. People might be even closer to Old Bill of...
Yeah, that's true.
Let's drink to the Lady in the Wyatt shoes.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
As Reddit brought up.
The Lady in the Wyatt shoes. That's so funny.
Yeah.
For your consideration. Michael Wincott. He gave us the answer.
We didn't
even know.
He did. But...
Yeah, I guess that's all that's about. We've documented for the most part how we feel about most of the performances. The only one that I would classify as straight up bad is board member
Charlotte Hale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was just I think her introduction. I think she was around episode 5 or 6, which is right when things took a pause. That's when we heard that they were like, we are putting a halt on production to figure things out. Mm-hmm. So I think, because then we get that very brief introduction. We get the scenes with her with Sizemore. They're talking. He doesn't know that she's a board member. And then we finally get introduced to her. And then the next episode, the first episode back from that pause, is when she's got the naked discussion with Cullen. That, I think they were just still figuring out where she fits into things.
And that I don't like, because where everyone else fits. Are you referring to the writers? Like, they're figuring out where she fits?
Yeah.
That's so obnoxious, though. If that is the case, you have a perfect 10,000 piece puzzle, and then you just have a circle that you're trying to figure out where to force it into this puzzle.
Well, but there's evidence of it in other places, like with Elsie. Elsie disappears 7 episodes.
Oh yeah, that I'm fine with that though.
But then, there's evidence of people being shuffled around because they don't know what to do with them. Sizemore disappears for 4 episodes, and then he comes back later.
Yeah, all those things I'm totally cool with, because the character feels concrete the moment they walk into the show. Yeah, like, I understand. It feels like the kind of thing where the actor and the writers would have a mini Bible and like a pamphlet about who is this person and why are they the way they are, to help them get into that character. But she just is like this loose thread that doesn't make sense and just needs to be clipped off.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think that's very true. I think she serves a purpose.
Oh yeah, the character does serve a purpose, but I think she's probably just miscast or misdirected. Either way, and this is something that I often think about with actors like Anthony Hopkins. Do they really need directors? Like, do they need to be directed? Give them the script and
let them do their thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, guys like that, you don't hire Pacino with thinking like, oh boy, I'm gonna have to sit down.
Mold him into what he needs to be.
Exactly. You don't need to do that. And I wonder with a lot of these actors, to what extent that is. Yeah. And directors do play. They play an important role, but they are important for actors to connect. They are the anchor for the actors to say, how do I fit into the grand scheme? And TV's a little bit different of animal because
you're getting different directors.
And a director might only do 2 days on the show, whereas the actor's been there for the whole season, so they're already comfortable with who their character is. And the Preacher Insider podcast is wonderful for getting some insight into that process. Yep. Because a lot of times the actors can help inform the director, or at least collaborate.
And that's kind of where it is. Especially the showrunners in more of that kind of space. Yes. Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy are supposed to be the ones that are kind of helping you as an actor figure out.
The directors are they're helping tell the story visually at that point as well.
Yeah.
And some of the episodes of this series are brilliantly directed. I think that the What Door episode is just tremendous.
Yeah.
Is that episode 7?
I think so.
Somewhere in there.
6 is the adversary. 7 is Trump law. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. So
anyway,
yeah,
the acting. Give them. Do they still have like ensemble awards? Do they do that still?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Not necessarily for drama shows, I don't think.
I guess usually if it wins like best whatever, everyone runs on stage and just like takes part. Yeah. Yep. Like when Birdman won it, I just couldn't take my eyes off Michael Keaton. I was like, that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
Him like chewing gum or whatever he was doing up on that stage. It was great.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton would be a wonderful addition to Westworld.
That'd be pretty good.
Old Logan.
Michael Keaton as Delos board member that couldn't make it to the park.
Yeah. You just see him waiting by the train with his ticket and his tux. Man, train's running late.
with like black rimmed sunglasses with golden lenses.
Something unique. Michael Keaton as Old Logan would be awesome.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton is great in anything.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
All right.
So is Peter Weller.
Yes. All right. So for the last segment of the show, before we sign off, I did get a chance to talk to my friends Anna and Marshall. They are people who were completely uncontaminated by podcasts and other Westworld articles and things like that. So it was fun to get to talk to them to see kind of if they started suspecting things and what they thought of the twists and turns and reveals and stuff like that of the story. So I'm going to throw to that, give it a listen, and then we'll be back to sign off for the rest of the season.
Hello.
Holy shit, Westworld.
Jesus, you're loud.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'm recording you right now.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I'll say anything worth value, but Marshall's here too.
Okay. So basically, I'm just going to ask you a bunch of different questions. But before that, what did you think of everything?
I loved it. That was awesome. It did your typical twist though, like, oh my God, he's a host. You know, it was very typical. But
you mean Bernard? Oh my God, he's a host. Okay.
Yeah, that was very. It wasn't that shocking, basically. Like as soon as it happened, I was like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense." And then I started thinking, I was like, "Well, everybody's probably a host then." They'll like sixth sense it, you know. And no, but the end was really, really good. Anthony Hopkins did a really nice job.
Yes, he's fantastic. Did you end up watching that video that I sent you, or no?
No, I haven't. I forgot about that. I should do that. I will do that.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. It's a very cool dissection of his acting in that scene with him and Teresa at the like chateau thing that they're at. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very good though. I really enjoyed it overall.
All right, so you didn't see Bernard coming.
No,
but you didn't see it coming, but you weren't that surprised by it.
Yeah.
What about him being Arnold? How did you feel about that? Did you see that coming at any point?
Well, I didn't see it coming, but that was one that was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the most shocking surprise for me was was William, because because they did such a good job of lining him up and making him seem like they were doing it simultaneously.
Yeah.
And then Marshall actually realized it before I did. As soon as like in the endings with Dolores and that, what do you call him, Ed Harris? I don't know.
The Man in Black.
The Man in Black, and he starts talking to her when she's like all upset, and Marshall's like, "Oh my God, he's William." I'm like, "No, he's not." And then he's like, "Oh God." So that shocked me the most out of all of them.
Okay. So were you surprised about Ford being on the side of the hosts?
No, because that changed for me. At first, he seemed like an antagonist character at the beginning, but it shifted probably like halfway through. Can't remember when, but I just started like I was on his side more. It seemed like he was for the hosts.
Interesting.
More.
Yeah, because I kind of thought that he was. I feel like that is the biggest secret that nobody saw coming was that he was acting in the interest of the hosts.
I didn't feel like he was a true enemy of the hosts, except for like the beginning. They didn't portray him as evil as other things, you know.
Well, it wasn't so much that he was going to end them or anything like that, but that he didn't like care, that he basically was like, this is all mine and I can control everything. And so to have him kind of turn around and be like, you know, I want you guys to take over the world, essentially, is kind of what he does. That was a pretty big surprise. But what would you say if I told you that people figured out that there were two timelines in episode 2?
I don't remember what happened in episode 2.
Well, it
was episode 2. What was that about?
Episode 2 is the introduction to William, essentially. That's the first time that William shows up. Not at Harris, but...
Those people are smart.
And the thing that kind of gave it all away was that at one point before the season started, HBO tweeted something, and I don't know why. Maybe they just didn't think people would figure it out, but HBO tweeted something along the lines of, in Westworld, even logos deserve a second look, or something like that.
Oh, well, come on.
Well, but so that didn't, I feel like that was kind of discovered later, because there were people that were basically just like, if you look at on HBO Now or HBO Go or whatever you're using, there's a thumbnail for episode 2 that shows William talking to Angela, the blonde host that brought him into the dressing place. And behind them is a modern Westworld logo. It's got like the 2 slashes and the W. But then if you watch the episode, behind them is it's 1 slash and then like a check mark essentially for like the W.
Oh.
And like anytime you see that W, the slash with the check mark, you're essentially seeing something either from that time or in that time frame.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
So that was something that like I and people listening to our podcast and Nick and everybody who was like reading things and listening to things about it, we were all aware of that possibility in episode 2.
Oh, see, I wasn't. But, because I purposely didn't look up anything about this before I started watching it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of argument back and forth about whether or not all the speculation stuff ruined the show for some people. Because I think, I'm a pretty spoiler-averse person. You know that I don't watch trailers in the movie theater. So it's I understand that there are people out there that don't want to be ruined for anything, but some of it to me is like, if people are just speculating about it, is that necessarily spoiling it? And I don't necessarily feel that way. But
if HBO led you to believe that.
Yeah. And that, I guess part of that is like, and there's some argument about whether or not people are realizing, showrunners are beginning to realize how intelligent the internet is as a hive mind. Because if you throw 100,000 geeky brains at a problem, then they'll probably figure it out.
Yeah, they will.
So yeah, the 2, at least the 2 time frames was, or actually it ended up being 3, because you see Dolores with Arnold, and that's like 35 years ago, and then there's William, which is 30 years ago, and then there's like present day.
Right.
That's people kind of figured that out in episode 2. The thing about Arnold and Bernard, people were tipped off about Arnold and Bernard when you first see the picture of Ford and his father.
Oh,
I think it's like episode 4.
Yeah,
3 or 4.
Early.
That could even be 2. I don't think so. But anyway, people were tipped off about that because it was very weird framing. And some people were like, well, if it was Arnold, wouldn't we know that? Wouldn't it be somebody that we would recognize if he's going to be important or something like that? But then even like the framing of the shot, you see Ford and his father, and then there's like a blank space to the right of them where you eventually see that picture again, and that's where Arnold is standing.
True. Yeah, because it's from his perspective, yeah. Yeah,
so that was pretty... People figured that one out pretty early on, too.
Making me feel stupid here. Okay.
No. I'm not saying that you're stupid, because I don't this is one of those things. This is one of those shows where I don't think most people realize that it's operating on that level.
Yeah.
And there's some people that'll get through this season and never know that too. Like if we weren't having this discussion, you wouldn't even necessarily know that you could have been watching extremely closely and maybe figured some of these things out way ahead of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I don't know that that's a better way to watch the show as so much as it's a different way to watch the show. I don't know which one I would personally prefer, but seeing as how I have a podcast about the show, I'm never going to be that on that level of being unaware of it all. But yeah. And then was there anything else that I was thinking that we could maybe discuss? Do you think knowing some of those things would have ruined it for you or not?
I really like the story, and I like being surprised, unlike everybody else that tries to figure it out. Like, I come up with theories, but it's like there's no core to them. I just like, oh, that would be interesting if that had happened. But
yeah, and you texted me yesterday. You were like, Arnold's still alive. He's affecting these hosts or programming them in some way. I was there too. Wow, excuse me. I was there too. Like that was something that I was thinking up until the final episode.
Yeah.
And even though you learn that Bernard is Arnold, you still kind of wonder. Like, part of me was like, is he doing it without knowing that he's doing it?
Yeah. Yep.
So, like, I think you were still throwing guesses out there about things because you knew that the show kind of begs you to theorize about it.
It does. Yeah, it does, because it's just a lot of unclear endings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking back to like the very first episode when everything is like super confusing at first, and they made him black, and it's like everything's making sense.
Yeah.
Because he's like, when he first approaches Dolores, he's like, "Oh, we've met before," or something like that, and I was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah. And even like there's just a lot of detail in the show, which is something I'll say. I think it definitely rewards a second watch. Like, if you get bored and you want to dive back into it and remember the things that you figure out later on and figure out what lines up with it. Like, there were times where I was watching this show and I basically would sit down and skim through all of the previous episodes before the new one came out, just to kind of look and track these things and see if it all would line up or not.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of detail to it. But the one other thing that I would say is that I feel as though the show is so good that even though people had stuff figured out, I think it executed it so well that it wouldn't bother me to have known, like, that I know these things before they even happen.
And it helps that there was like a lot of stuff, a lot of twists, rather than one big one.
Yeah.
If you saw it coming, then it ruined the whole thing, because maybe some people saw one but didn't figure out the others.
Yep.
So that really helped as well. But I watched purely for entertainment value, and I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Very well directed and very well acted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. Good.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Marshall. Marshall, come here. There's like so much snow on the ground. Marshall's concert got canceled today.
That's fun. How many inches are you guys at right now? Do you know?
About a foot.
Oh, okay, we're like maybe at 4. We're getting there.
That's where people start acting dumb. Did you see any of the things coming?
I suck at that stuff. So. But at the same time, I think I like not knowing. I purposely don't think too much into it because I like rolling along with the show. But no, I don't think I saw it coming. Like, I saw a lot of the situations coming, coming as they were gonna happen. Like, a few minutes before, not like moments, not like before they hit it, but a little bit before they developed it in the show. I kind of caught a few things, like the whole Wyatt thing with Dolores. I caught that a few episodes early.
That was interesting too. Just the way that they had kind of filmed that scene, like, in 4 different ways, essentially.
Yeah. So I exactly. And as soon as he pulled out in the blue, as soon as Wyatt, like in the first few episodes, actually came out in the blue, like in his blue uniform, it was lighter blue than the rest of everybody else's uniform. It matched the same color Dolores' thing she wears. I'm like, all right, well, that could be something.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It really wasn't a whole lot though. It kind of, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not good at that kind of stuff, but it took me for a ride.
Good.
Yeah.
Well.
Really, he was dressed in blue. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
He's got an army uniform on, which is
everybody else's, but it's like, I don't know. For some reason in my head, it stuck out to be a different.
It could have been like a lighting thing too. I don't know. Like, maybe just the way. Maybe he was in more direct light than Teddy was, or something like that.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I didn't know. Didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I hated the Wyatt twist. I thought that was stupid.
Why?
I don't know.
Wyatt.
It seemed like a scapegoat.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Because Anthony Hopkins explains it in terms of like, well, it was something that we were working on, and then Arnold ended up using it to have Dolores kill everybody.
Then in what time frame did they give that to Teddy? Remember?
Well, Teddy might have had a version of it in him 35 years ago.
No, but they put him in to be against Wyatt at one point, and I forget when that happened.
They did that. Ford did that in modern day, probably around like episode 5 or 6. Because he's going, it might even be 4. He has that woman guest with him. And they're like doing a bunch of like bounties or something like that, just killing people. And that's when they go out into the woods. You remember?
Uh-huh.
And they get encountered by Wyatt's dudes who have like the black over their bodies or whatever, like, and they have the bones and everything like that. Ford uploaded it to Teddy. There's a scene of him doing it.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's not necessarily when they put him. He just kind of uses it as backstory to make it so that when, like, Wyatt being part of the new narrative, it'll lead Teddy to the right place.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Huh. Makes you think, you know?
It's good.
It was good.
Awesome. Well, I'll wrap up the recording here and say thank you guys for talking with me. We can still Skype afterwards too, if you would like to. But
awesome.
But thank you very much for talking with me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Glad we could help.
Yeah, I'm glad that I could talk to people that aren't as nerdy as me and don't.
It's true. Don't look into things too much.
No, you don't.
That's good. All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I think that's it for season 1 of Westworld and Westworld FM.
Sadly.
Yes.
We could go on, I'm sure, but...
Yeah, we could, but it would...
Any well-tempered
I don't know that we got 2 years worth of
needs
material.
to know when to hang it up.
So, like Ford.
This piano player piano is coming to its end.
It's, we're at the end of the spool.
We're at the end of the spool.
Waiting for a new one. So... once again, you can find more episodes of our podcast on westworld.fm. We're also on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play Music. We are also Westworld FM on Twitter, and you can email us at westworldfm@gmail.com to tell us what you think of our show and share your thoughts on HBO's Westworld so we can read them on our show. Send us corrections, observations, or anything regarding Westworld or our podcast. As I mentioned at the top of the show, the Midwest Podcast Network has several other shows about video games, horror movies, and more. Please check them all out at midwestpodcastnetwork.com. And that's it.
Thank
for
you,
this season,
everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you to HBO and everybody involved there at making a fantastic show.
Yeah, it's been a great time.
Yeah,
it's been a very fun show to watch and to talk about. And
absolutely, I don't know that I would have enjoyed it as much without. I mean, I think I would have enjoyed it, but I think there's a deeper love and understanding being steeped in it and having a podcast. And
yeah, I think we kind of fell a little bit more into that category of we do want to explore this more and talk about it.
Yeah,
it bears discussion.
Totally,
certainly. And
totally.
I think that's wonderful. Keep at us on social media.
Yeah, talk to us about things. We got people. You heard at one point Jason write us and ask us about Arrival. We're always watching all kinds of different stuff. If you want to hear what we think about other things, please let us know. You can find me personally on Twitter, JohnD1703, JONDY1703. Nick is also on Twitter.
I don't know what my handle is, actually.
I think it's just Nick Blauvelt.
It's just my name. Okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
So,
yeah, I reply to a lot of the Westworld tweets. I end up, if someone tweets at us, I will sometimes hop on and like it as well.
Yeah.
I don't really interact so much with the Westworld Twitter, but I should.
Yeah, maybe I'll post a thing that has both of us on it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
So that people can follow us in the offhand.
Yeah, I will absolutely respond to everything. I love talking about stuff.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff. So.
Yeah.
And so will Alex is obviously really up on.
Yeah, I get the Twitter stuff on my watch on my hand.
Yeah,
so.
He just checked his watch mid-episode at some point, probably because somebody said something. So there you go. Yeah, we love interacting with the community, and we love if you have a show also let us know.
Yeah, let us know what you're talking about. We'd love to hear your podcast.
Yeah, we started listening to a listener of ours podcast.
Yeah,
Films of Every Color.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely
terrific.
Yeah.
Sandy, I haven't heard a new episode lately.
Yeah, it's been a
Sandy
little while.
listen to this show?
I don't think he does. I don't think he does. Not
He's
yet,
missing
anyway.
out on this conversation about him right now.
Yes, that's true.
We'll have to let him know.
Yep, we'll hit him up on Twitter.
Yeah, say, hey, you got to watch 10 episodes of Westworld and listen to 10 episodes of our show first, because we talked about you at the end of our last episode.
Yeah. So, all right. All signs point to season 2 being in 2018, and we hope to be back. But until then, may you rest and have a deep and dreamless slumber.